everybody? Hope everybody's doing good and staying blessed. I'm coming to you with, I guess, sort of a video response, and this is to the Peeling Queen. And she did a video that was about certain words, and she wanted to know how other people felt about them. And the words, I'm gonna make sure I get them all. And the words include dreadlocks, nappy, kinky, good hair. And I'm just going to go ahead because good hair is there and talk about bad hair, what bad hair was also. And so the first one I'm going to go with is the word dreadlocks. And dreadlocks never really was offensive to me, like an offensive term when I was growing up. With the household, nobody told me that that word was offensive, and as far as I understood, dreadlocks was this way that people let their hair grow out and mat, and that's what dreadlocks were. They were coils of matted hair. That's what dreadlocks were when I was growing up. That it wasn't something that was offensive. Now later on, when I got older and I found out why it might be an offensive term to some people, I would just refer to them as locks, because that's what is locked hair, is matted hair. That's what it is. But dreadlocks, to me, it wasn't offensive when I was growing up. Well, I don't take it as offensive. Somebody was to walk up to me and say those dreadlocks or something like that, it wouldn't bother me. However, if it's used in a way for which is negative, and you know that it's negative, pretty much then it would be something that I would take offense to, like, oh, his dreads look stank, or some stupid way of using the word for which you can tell that it's not positive at all, and it's just negative. However, the fact that the word dread and what it means, yeah, for the most part, unless it's necessary for me to use the dreadlocks, they're locks. Or if somebody else refers to their hair as dreadlocks, yeah, they're dreadlocks. The next term is kinky, and I'm not going to stay on this for a long time, but kinky is a sexual term, and when I was raised, that's how I view that word. It is a sexual term. It can mean other things, but that's where that word is, and that's basically where I don't use that word too often. However, if it's used and somebody says, oh, you have kinky hair, I try not to take offense to it and assume that they mean it in a complimentary way somehow. But the way that I was raised and the way that the word kinky was, it was a sexual term. Yeah, that's as far as I'm going with that. Now, good hair and bad hair. Best way I can explain how good hair and bad hair was referred to, or the experiences I've had with it, is you could have a family, and in the family, bad hair was considered the hair that was furthest away from being straight hair. Bad hair was considered to be hair that you couldn't run a comb through. Bad hair was considered to be hair that you had to do multiple things to it to get it to be good hair. Bad hair was the type of hair that you would put a perm on, or an S-curl, or a jerry curl. That would be bad hair, because the state that the hair is in is considered to be bad, and it needs to be turned into something that was closer to good. So best example I can say is you can have two twin sisters and one twin, their hair, you can run a comb straight through it, and the twin that would have the excuse me, the twin that would have the hair that you could not just pass a comb through, that you might have to do some extra work to actually style, would be considered a child with bad hair. And do I agree with that? No. No, I don't agree with that. I think that it's messed up that that's the case with some people, but that's the way that it was, the way that it was viewed and talked about, and probably the way that it's still talked about by some people what bad hair is. Good hair was considered to be what I said, hair that you could run a comb straight through, you could pass your fingers straight through and all the rest of that without having any issues and whatnot. Good hair was considered hair that was closer to being a Eurocentric hair. Just the way that it was said, and when I was growing up, it just really seemed like it was messed up. It seemed wrong, and it caused, while I was growing up, it caused me to look at things very differently, because you would have the person who had the hair that their parent didn't put a perm on, that their parent didn't run a hot comb through, that their parent didn't do all those things, and feel like, why are you doing these things to my hair? Like, my hair is not as good as this other person's. My hair needs to be like this other person's to be good. Why? But as far as I'm concerned, good hair and bad hair, those, when I got old enough to express how I felt about that, and it really wasn't something that was talked about as much in my own, with my mother and my own family. It was our external family and how they felt about that. And I guess I'll add this in because I don't know, I just want to know if anybody else had these type of things and they felt awkward whenever they were out. And if you ever had somebody automatically assume that your hair felt like cotton wool, steel wool, a Brillo pad, or they automatically assumed that your hair was supposed to be dry and brittle and it couldn't grow. All these things that were attached to a person with this certain type of hair. And yeah, I'm just curious, did anybody else have moments where somebody just randomly wanted to just touch your hair, or that they assumed that your hair was something that was a little unnatural to them, a little foreign to them? But that's a whole nother can of worms to go into. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't use good hair and I don't use bad hair. As far as I would be concerned, if you were to say your hair is good hair, I would be thinking, oh, my hair is healthy, it's growing out my scalp, and it's good, and it ain't falling out my head. Okay, it's not super damaged. That's what I would think good hair would be. But that's usually not what people mean when they say you have good hair, or if they say you have bad hair. It's usually not something that I even had to deal with when somebody says stuff like that, because I think it divides people and makes people feel bad that their natural hair would be something that's considered bad. I don't know. The one that I saved for last is nappy. And nappy is a term for which I always, when I was growing up, it was not used in a positive manner at all. It was negative. It was not positive. It really was not being used to describe somebody with curly hair when somebody used the term nappy. Now it might that might be more acceptable, because in a dictionary it'll have a side thing that says that that's what it's supposed to mean. But from growing up, it never was a positive thing. When somebody would walk up, oh, you got nappy hair, oh, you need to put a perm and lay them naps down, stuff like that. Nappy was not a positive thing. And also, if you really look it up and look at how other people view the word nappy, British people, the word nappy is a diaper. It's a diaper. A nappy, a diaper, a napkin, something that they put on a baby's butt. and you know what that's used for, right? So I don't want somebody referring to my hair as that, knowing that for the majority of the time that the word nappy is brought up, unless the person expressly means coily hair, usually it is offensive. It's an offensive term, and it's not positive at all. But that's just how I'm viewing it. I've had my mother use the term nappy a few times, and after I told her about why and what the word actually means, and that's just all in how a person is raised and how they have perceived the word to be. Any word can be used in a negative way, and make a person feel bad. But there are certain words that it just doesn't seem necessary to use those terms, knowing that they have an alternative meaning that could be perceived as negative. Like, something that I never really understood was, why do we need a term nappy in the first place to refer to hair when we have the word coily? You don't have some other alternative word for straight hair? Do you have an alternative word for wavy hair? Do you have an alternative word for curly hair? Why is it that we have an alternative word to describe coily hair and no other alternative word that could be perceived as offensive for any other type of hair? But that's just how I feel about that, and I like to tag all my subscribers to see what you think about those words: dreadlocks, good hair, bad hair, nappy, and kinky, and how do you feel about those words and the way that they're used? Alright, everybody, stay blessed. Hope everybody's doing well. See you next time. Bye.